You're listening to DraftKings Network.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Chris Cody, are you in any way surprised that your father began the entire extravaganza totally muted?
No, I was watching it and I was just in my car, just like fist pumping, just like, yes, can't hear him. Because I was only listening because I was driving, but I was like, please don't talk. Please don't. Yes.
Look at this. Look at Whittingham. He parachutes in, okay, because Whittingham loves nothing more than being correct. It's what he shouts.
It's my favorite thing in the world.
It's what he shouts at the height of orgasm. I was right.
Being right is what brings him to orgasm.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was right is when he's finished. Yeah. That's right.
Sexual pleasures number 2, number 1 being right.
Smoking a cigarette and eating the sandwich. He's like, man, he says to his partner, how right was I? Was it right for you? But he told us, put a dome on that stadium, Buffalo. And, you may not have heard this, but climate change isn't going to get a whole lot better. So whatever it is we're experiencing this weekend, where a football game has been canceled after last week, we were saying, is there a temperature that you can cancel a football game? Like, there's probably going to be more of that in the future, and more 4:30 on Monday football playoff games.
I imagine Stugotz, though, loves a 4:30 on a Monday football game.
Oh, it's fantastic. I love 2-2-2. I was never happy with 2-3-1. I wanted 2-2-2, and now we have 2-2-2.
What if Super Wildcard Weekend turned into Super Wildcard Week, where it was 1-1-1-1-1-1-1? We just had a game every day. That would bring you to orgasm. No, I mean, look, the thing that's frightening, though, is like the number of stadium. Like, I'm gonna call for, at some point, like, New Orleans already has one, but like every team in the NFL should have a dome, because that's the only way we're going to be able to get all the games off. People always had a go at me whenever I did that take originally. I mean, Miami has had more games postponed due to weather events than Buffalo has. But, I mean, there looked like a river of snow that was going through that Buffalo stadium. And, I don't know, we saw a Detroit game that was awesome. I mean, all the games that were indoors this weekend were, like, really entertaining, had something special about them. And I just don't, like, the Kansas City game was kind of meh because everyone was trying to survive. The Dolphins, like, literally weren't up for it defensively, because how could you be a negative 27?
Why do we have to name everything? Why does this have to be Super Wildcard Weekend? Why can't this just be the opening round of the playoffs? Everything doesn't need a name.
Branding. No. They gotta, like, how can you know that it's a different than any other wild card weekend if you didn't call it Super Wild Card Weekend? The word super is how we distinguish things from being normal things.
It's like he's teaching us.
which of these stats is better, Stugotz? That the Green Bay Packers have won more games at Jerry Jones, more playoff games at Jerry Jones's stadium than Jerry Jones's team has won at his stadium.
One that might rival that?
I think I've got a better one than that. I'm not sure, but the reason I chose this one second, it's from Ethan Skolnick. You failed in your bid to keep Dwayne Wade from getting a statue, but the Dolphins are now because the Lions won yesterday, they've got the longest drought in the sport without a playoff victory. They haven't won a playoff game this century, which means Dwayne Wade has started and finished college and started and finished a Hall of Fame career and gotten a statue and into the Hall of Fame since the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game.
And you could go even further than that. If you can go even further than that, if you include the last time a Miami Dolphins playoff victory was broadcast on local television, because I remember this yesterday.
That's right. Lamar Smith.
The Lamar Smith game was not broadcast on local TV. I listened to that game on the radio.
It didn't sell out. I meant to ask you guys this because Kornheiser was having all sorts of trouble finding Peacock this weekend. So was
the least surprising thing I've ever heard.
So was Mike Francesa. He was having and this was great too. A congressman wrote a letter to the NFL. I mean, it stop screwing the fans, rip off, like very strong language. because he was saying the game shouldn't. It's un-American to have the game on Peacock, but he was writing a letter.
Was he dipping it in? Was he dipping a feather in ink?
It's shocking he couldn't find Peacock.
Yeah, I'm gonna send a telegram to the Stamford offices of NBC. This is an outrage.
Stugotz, I want to read this quote from Mark Schlereth, who's taking the kind of victory lap that Whittingham is taking because he was right about the Buffalo Bills should have a dome. This was Schlereth's, the way that he worded what the Dallas Cowboys were going to do in the playoffs. This is what he said, his prediction. They'll get in the playoffs and shit in their helmets like they do every year. That's the Cowboys. They'll shit in their helmets.
It stink.
It would stink.
Yeah.
It did stink.
Dak helped Tua out, right? Got him out of the
massively.
The Monday news stream.
I haven't turned on First Take yet, but the Dolphins did not make the A block.
Stephen A. rode in on a horse.
Did he?
No. maybe.
Probably. That's the next evolution on the bit.
I was constructing a top 5 happiest people from the weekend, and Stephen A. is firmly entrenched at number 1. No one had a better weekend than Stephen A. Smith.
How about Skip Bayless getting owned by his automated trash can? Did you guys see the thing where he goes and throws away all the jerseys? He has one of these automated ones where you have to wave your, and every time he got a new shirt, he would be about to throw it and it would go down and he would have to wave his hand. It was just constant. I'm kind of with him on these automated trash cans. We have one of these at our studio. I'm good with the old. Give me the old school.
What happened to the pedal? What happened to the pedal? Bring the pedal back, Jack.
I don't need to do hand signals to get my trash can open. Okay, give me the old school. Let me step on it. Let me step on it.
Back in my day, by a different generation of coding.
If Skip was stepping on that thing and then throwing, he would have been flying. But instead, all his rhythm was thrown off. It was a way less entertaining video. Technology not always helpful.
Nick Wright has taken that network from Skip. Skip's numbers are in the toilet. Because Shannon Sharp kind of didn't need Skip, didn't need him, and Skip kind of needed him. And that's not going to. I mean, it's aged well enough until now, but I don't know how much getting fooled by your automated trash can is going to work. Maybe the Cowboys will forever give him content to be able to do that. But that move with chasing LeBron around, at some point, those two moves are going to expire. And then you're just staring at Richard Sherman, who doesn't want to work with you.
How about Dak? How about Dak defending Mike McCarthy? I know it's kind of he's got to do it. He does he though? He literally said, "If it's him, it's me too." I like the idea of him, of a quarterback using his power and being like, "All right, Jerry, you want to get rid of me? You want to get rid of him?"
On behalf of Mike McCarthy, McCarthy's the hill you're willing to die on.
I mean, he doesn't have to say what he said. He said the year I had was because of Mike McCarthy. He did go. He could have just.
What about the game that he had when Jerry Jones said we're going to take him game by game on his future? What about the game he had yesterday?
That's a terrible job by Jerry to put that kind of pressure on the entire team. I mean, right before the playoffs, you're trying to make a playoff run, and there's one legendary coach just waiting to take somebody's job, and there's another coach who's on his way to being legendary, just waiting to take somebody's job.
Belichick is now the huge betting favorite to become the Cowboys coach. I'm going to try and play some sound for you guys here off my phone. I don't know how well it's going to be heard here, but the Cowboys, you talk about pressure of a playoff game. I mean, of course, there's great pressure whether Jerry Jones says that or not, but they wasted the Jimmy Johnson halftime speech that I'm going to try and play for you here. An enraged 80-year-old Jimmy Johnson. Let me see if I can get the volume on this right.
Fast tempo, defense, get after Jordan Love. You can't give him that much time. You do what you're supposed to do, we'll win this game. You get your rear end in there and you play the way you know how to play. We can win the game. We're going to open it up. We're going to go fast tempo, defense, get after Jordan Love. You can't give him that much time. You do what you're supposed to do, we'll win this game.
And then they lost, and he didn't say anything in the postgame. He
love a rear end reference.
He cleaned that up.
I loved how Michael Strahan immediately got into a 3-point stance next to him. He was that fired up about that speech. I mean, it's 27. Was it 27-7 at that point? And we know, obviously, the thing with Dallas is that they crap the bed in the playoffs.
Just shit in their helmet.
Right, exactly. they shit in their helmet in the playoffs. But usually it's to like the good team. Nobody thought Green Bay was that team, right? The problem would be Dak.
Everyone has noticed that was a dangerous quarterback going in there.
Right.
He Aaron Rodgers. Like he literally is Aaron Rodgers. Like
last 7 weeks of the season, he has been the best quarterback in the NFL. The best quarterback in the NFL. And they have a good young team. Aaron Rodgers left that team, left all that talent to go to the Jets.
You think week 5 the Dolphins would have traded Tua for Jordan Love? Like, do you think we could have gotten the Packers to agree to that week 5?
I want to talk Tua with you guys in a second, because stop trading him for just a moment. There'll be plenty of time for that, okay? You didn't need to get to it 6 minutes after the game was over or in the third quarter. But here is Andrew Hawkins talking about the Green Bay Packers' foolproof formula for how you stay good at quarterback for 3 decades. Let quarterback win you a Super Bowl. Draft a quarterback late in the first round, right before a decline of your current Hall of Fame quarterback. Let that fuel your aging Hall of Fame quarterback into an uptick in performance, simultaneously making them trade bait. Let young quarterbacks slowly steal Hall of Fame quarterbacks' talent like the Monstars in Space Jam, then trick the New York Jets into a stupid trade for aging Hall of Fame quarterback.
Genius.
Seamless model. It works perfectly.
There's an important factor, though, in that. You got to draft a good quarterback.
But remember, 3 years ago when Jordan Love did get drafted, everyone was fuming with the Packers and said, what are you doing? You have Aaron Rodgers in his prime. He just won the MVP, blah, blah, blah. And how could you disrespect Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers is pissed. Aaron Rodgers this, Aaron Rodgers that. They nailed it. Like they've been flawless in quarterback succession plans. Now we can have the Tua conversation if we like. I've not had a quarterback my entire life, and somehow the Packers have had 3 in that span. 3
you had the guy
franchise altering.
Yeah, you had the guy who led the NFL in passing yardage, Chris. Okay.
It's statistically he's earned every bit of that. Totally.
Football has changed so much that he checkmates you there.
But
he did lead the league in passing, and yet all of us are having the same conversation today because, Stugotz, cold or not, okay, there was only one team this weekend and all the super wild card weekend stuff that didn't have an offense, that didn't give you anything in the way of offense. They got Hill, Waddle, and Achane touch the ball whatever it was, 7 times on 9 possessions. And again, the cold mitigates it, but I was worried about the defense in that game, not the offense. If Kansas City can get offense, then you should be able to get offense. And Kansas City was able to get offense because they've got a quarterback no one doubts. No one doubts.
Right. I think the problem with Tua is just it's not so much the running, it's extending the play. He could run occasionally when he has to. It's extending the play and making throws on the run.
He got 6 first downs running this year. You could see on his hip, he can't really run.
I know.
He can't. It's
well,
not.
and this is something that a lot of fans have picked up on. He got bigger in the offseason. He put on like 12 pounds, and there's 2 things that happened there. He got bigger, and so he's less mobile, and also they've clearly told him to not run because he almost got killed last year.
Right.
And at this point, having him healthy is more important than having him run for first downs. But when you see how important it is for other teams to get running performances, even Mahomes in that game had 2 or 3 massive first downs and back-breaking moments because he can run, and you don't have that available.
On a 4th down, he did it. It was really interesting to watch a handful of things in that game that I want to talk to you guys about. And I do want to get into the conversation about Tua long term, but I want to go back because you guys know I'm fascinated with this, with changing viewing habits. Peacock had the largest streamed event in United States history. That's what they just got for $110 million. Not just Kornheiser and Francesa unable to find Peacock and congressmen writing letters, but this is the change and the evolution and how the NFL somehow continues to get more and more giant, even as it transitions into young people and everyone else are going to start watching all of this stuff differently. So I ask you guys, for you, did you have any sort of change of feeling anywhere about seeing it on Peacock? Because what you're doing is, and this is obviously the NFL is an extraordinarily well-run business, but to be able to transition when you're already taking money from CBS, from ABC, from ESPN, from NBC, from DirecTV, from YouTube, to now saying, and we got more oil wells. Now, who wants our streaming stuff? And to be able to announce Peacock in U.S. history no one has ever had an event that streamed this way. 23 million people watching that shit game in the snow because they just had to find the Dolphins out of market and had to find the Chiefs out of market. That's a crazy number that they would be able to roll along without any hiccup while transitioning while the airplane's still in the air.
And by the way, there was also they themselves released that they had the highest ever internet usage in the history of the United States on Saturday night.
They thanked the NFL.
It says, according to NBC, the Chiefs' win drove internet usage on Saturday to its highest ever level in the United States and accounted for 30% of total traffic during its time slot. And by the way, it's not just that they managed to accomplish this. They accomplished this on a service that is not even in the top 3 of streaming services.
Peacock is the biggest money loser among all the streamers, all of them.
Right. They had like 30 million subscribers before Saturday night. And yeah, it massively inconvenienced people, but I don't know. I'm a soccer fan, so I've been streaming sporting events for a long time. It does nothing for me. You're watching the same thing that you'd otherwise watch. If anything, it was kind of cool. It was only too bad that the fourth quarter wasn't interesting, but they said that the fourth quarter was going to be commercial free, and they kept going in the studio. That was really cool. But yeah, I mean, the thing though that you mentioned though about the NFL like having more oil wells, to me, the only other one that they have like to actually make big money is international. I think at some point they're going to have to be international, and these two things are sort of aligned. They're going to have to be more international because that's the only place that they still have left to grow. I think, how much bigger can you get? They're already the biggest thing by so big that how can you even get bigger if you're the NFL in the United States?
Well, they could up the streaming prices if they want to. I mean, that's certainly based on what just happened with.
I mean, they can have an NFL subscription service where you you can only watch the games via streaming and you only pay them, or as Skipper has floated, having pay-per-view Super Bowls or something like that.
I think the first time I watched the game on Amazon, that was tricky. It was weird to me, but I'm kind of numb to it at this point. Like, I didn't even think about it. I was just watching the game on Peacock. Like, we have it, we put it on, we watch the game, we enjoy the game.
I have no time for these old people complaining about this at that point. It's time to just get with the times, people. You know what the streaming service
times. Get a trash can with a pedal.
I would pay for another streaming service. You know what it is? I want to watch all the people struggling to find Peacock. I wish I could watch a show of all these old people that are just like, God, Clarence, that
was Stugotz's mother's eulogy. I saw that before Stugotz's
funeral. That's a fine, but I gave the eulogy. But yes, I understand what you're saying. That's no one knew how to get on.
Oh God. For 3 years, we've been doing this with like, what do I mute? Do I unmute? How, like it's impossible. But I'm with you, Chris. That would have been great because I had a friend texting me, like sending me screenshots of like the process of taking their friend through like subscribing to Peacock, and I can't fathom it. I really can't.
Put it on the poll, please, at Batard Show. Would you pay $2.99 just to watch old people try to get on to Peacock?
Based on what happened during my mom's funeral, Dan is right. I would pay that. I would pay more for it, actually, because, Winnie, I don't know if you were in the Zoom, but it was every old person in New York, in Westchester, in the Long Island area, all trying to log on to Zoom at one time.
Old people struggling with technology don't do so quietly.
That's what was funny about it.
Yeah,
it was all Ethel. I don't know what is this? What is this?
What am I seeing? What?
They put it out on social like someone's gonna be like, we're laughing at you. We're laughing at you. That's all we're doing. We're not saying, hey, Mike Francesca's right. This is really hard. No. We're laughing at you. That's all we're doing.
It's also so precious and pretentious to be like, we can put other things on streaming. We can put the UFC on streaming. We can put college football on streaming and soccer on streaming. But the NFL playoffs? How dare you? Yeah. How dare you put the NFL playoffs on this platform that many thousands of sporting events? I'm going to write a letter. This is bullshit.
My congressman, I'm going to be a congressman who runs on a platform of writing letters. I'm going to change the world one 90-year-old Lions fan at a time.
Hulk Hogan is that move, by the way, of like cupping your hands to your ears. I know you're all upset about this. I'm going to do something. I'm going to pass the don't you dare stream the NFL playoffs act of 2024.
The Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is sponsored by BetterHelp. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we're already doing right. Therapy can be helpful for personal growth, managing mental health challenges, improving relationships, or coping with life's changes. Embarking on therapy in the new year can be a positive and transformative step for many individuals. Personal growth and change take time. Be patient with yourself and acknowledge the progress no matter how small. Therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch all the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/DLB today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/DLB.
Dan Le Batard.
Common thread was Stugotz chumming it up with Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. I met my quarterback.
Yeah, as you know. Stugotz didn't talk to Aaron Rodgers.
Nope.
Stugotz thought country music superstar Jake Owen was Aaron Rodgers. They had a 20-minute conversation.
Identical twins. I mean, Jesus.
Stugotz.
Listen, I will never have the relationship with Aaron Rodgers that I have with the guy that I thought was Aaron Rodgers.
So the way that
I mean, that is the greatest conversation I've ever had with my quarterback.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Did you guys see this shot of this Lions fan crying at the end of that game?
Oh, that was great.
I'm convinced that guy's like 32 years old. I'm convinced that guy just had the Lions -3. that was not like.
It was actually sad.
That was actual tears of I almost covered.
But, Chris, when you say his age, though, 32 years old, they haven't won one of those since he's been alive. If he came out of the womb as his parents are Lions fans, he hasn't won one of those.
That 90-year-old's allowed to cry, okay? Not you, 32-year-old. That's it.
Why is the 90-year-old?
No, I disagree. The 90-year-old seen something. Yeah, he's seen something.
I just feel like if you're in your 30s, you haven't been around long enough to really like I'm a big Dolphin. I'm not crying when the Dolphins lose to the Chiefs the other day. I haven't been in this game long enough.
When they finally win a playoff game, I have never seen the Dolphins win a playoff game with my eyes. I've heard it on the radio. I've never seen it with my eyes. I've never seen it happen. I don't know if I'll cry, but it'll be like an emotional day for me, I think.
I can't decide whether this Dolphins season was just a complete waste of time or whether I should just enjoy the moments that were happy. Because there are parts of this Dolphins season that were the best football experience of my life. So I don't want to forget about those moments. But the way the season ended, not winning a playoff game with the best roster you've had in 20 years, it feels like this season was just undoubtedly a disaster. So
I know I'm not on the show anymore, so I feel bad calling for the ball here. But this season was amazing. I had such a great time because you have to remind yourself of all of the truly awful Dolphins teams that we've had for 25 years. We scored 70 points in a game this season. 70 points in a game this season. The Dolphins routinely hit for 30 and 40. And yeah, we discovered they only do that to bad teams, but they never did that to bad teams. We've been waiting for entertaining Dolphins football my entire life. We've had it for 2 years. I cannot fathom that people are talking about, Mike McDaniel might be under pressure next year. That's criminally insane if you think that Mike McDaniel should be under pressure, considering where the Dolphins have been. I understand that people, I know people want them to win, but fun for me is let's start at fun and then we'll go to winning after that.
All reasonable. Everything you're saying. Also totally reasonable is to say that's not weather that you want to be playing in. And the Tennessee game is the one that ruined their season. And also, and no one wants to hear this, but injuries are ridiculous and they weren't in any kind of state to do anything. But they did the cruelest thing this year, Whittingham, which is somehow because of that 70-point game and things that looked like it, They gave people like you who have been eternally bitter and cynical, who think Tannehill sucks and will never forget Tannehill, even though he's the best you had before Tua, they created hope and expectation. So while you're being totally reasonable and you've got the right perspective that's emotionless, they did raise the stakes on a season of expectations. They were on Hard Knocks, and they gave us the idea while arguing all season as a national team, not a local team, about their quarterback and about their team. They had giant arguments around, should the Dolphins have expectations? And so for Dolphin fans to put down their guard, raise the expectations, and then end the season with the single worst offensive performance anyone produced, and Tua's worst game being what echoes through your offseason of, do we have a quarterback? Are they going to pay him? Like, that's why it feels as shitty as it does. You're being totally reasonable about it, but I understand why it is that Dolphin fans would be crushed by this, because you look up and you're like, same old Dolphins, and you want to be mad at somebody. So you're going to be mad at McDaniel, you're going to be mad at Tua, because who else are you going to be mad at? The 4 guys on defense whose numbers I had never seen before Saturday?
I mean, we got to get out of here first. Sorry, Stugotz, with McDaniel on the hot seat. Like, that's why I'm going after Tua.
No, stop it right now.
Don't you go after Mike McDaniel.
Stop it right now. Listen to me. You're Stephen Ross. Your phone rings.
Oh, no, here we go.
And it's Bill Belichick or Jim Harbaugh. What do you do, Chris Cody? What do you do?
I keep this offensive mind that has teams trying to. You see, everyone's got a lot of motion now. I feel like over the course of this season, everyone is doing the motion that the Dolphins are doing. I feel like you really last night.
They did more than anybody this season. They did empirically. But I don't think that's a great offseason echo to be like, well, we were number 1 in motion. I don't think that.
No, I'm saying you're seeing all the other teams. It seems like every offense now has way more motion, and I know that's Shanahan too. But I'm just saying
everyone copied the Dolphins this year. Everyone's like, we got to have one of those plays.
Yeah.
But what do you do?
I hang up.
Let me ask you guys this question here. I want to see if you can hear this and give me your thoughts on this right here.
Everyone back off and give him a lot of room here, because this is a master craft. This is a work of the highest order. He's a sculptor. Everyone out of the way.
Dan, this time of year, everyone talks about teams they don't want to see come playoff time. I want to talk about a team that I actually want to see come playoff time. I want to see the Chiefs. I want
boy.
into my stadium with max confidence. I want Travis Kelce. I want Taylor Swift. I want the team that lost to Jordan Love. I want the team that lost to Aiden O'Connell. I want the team that trailed 17-0 to Jake Browning. That is the team that I would like to face in the playoffs. That's the team, indeed, that I would want to face in the playoffs, because that team is not very good. I have been saying.
I'll let you off the hook there, and also say he did have the Packers on the money line. I did tell you to take, and you could have made your money back if you had taken the Packers on the money line.
I still don't think the Chiefs are very good. I mean, I'm sorry. I was not that 4 field goals, 2 touchdowns. I am telling you right now, Dan, they go to Buffalo, they're going to lose that game. And if CJ Stroud comes strolling into that stadium, there's only one of 2 options. The Chiefs are done next week. They're either going to lose to CJ Stroud at home, or they're going to lose at Buffalo to Josh
I love
Allen.
that you're undeterred after you put the turd in undeterred after I just played that sound, and you're like, never mind, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to double down. They're not that good, even though they won by 15 points or whatever it was.
There's people that are skating on taking blame for this Dolphins late season meltdown. Whitty, I want to ask you a question. What would you say, regular season, not the Chiefs game, the 2 biggest losses of the Dolphins season?
Well, okay, so Tennessee is obviously number 1.
Just answer my question. Thank you.
Okay, Tennessee number 1 and Buffalo number 2.
Thank you, Whitty, for playing the game perfectly. What happened on those 2 games specifically? Oh, that's right. The Batard show had watch parties / events. Yeah. We're to blame for this. We're never having any sort of gathering, watch party, watch along again. Whitty, I mean, we were beating the Bills when Whitty joined. I mean, Whitty's skating on him being the reason we lost that Bills game.
Oh, my God. That was that. Wait a minute. How have we not talked about that? That game, the Dolphins were leading that game. Whitty shows up, 92-yard punt return for a touchdown. Fuck all the way off, Whittingham.
We're up 14-7. He's with us 7 minutes, and then we're down 21-14. I mean, Jesus.
But also, these individual results that people have pointed to the Titans game, and look, maybe if they were playing the Bills at home or Pittsburgh at home, it would have been different. But ultimately, you're delaying the inevitable, which is you have to beat a good team at some point. And the Dolphins only beat Dallas, who just had the humiliation of the weekend. That's their good win this season. Is Dallas,
and it was Jason Sanders.
Dallas is good. No,
and Jason Sanders did.
And by the way, I thought the stat of the weekend was was Adam Beasley tweeting out in the 6 games against playoff teams this year, Tua went 1-5, completed 65% of his passes, averaged 6.9 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and an 84 quarterback rating. He's turned into a bang average quarterback against good teams.
And he stinks in the cold.
Yeah.
It's just,
so you brought up the example of McDaniel and what he can do from here and McVay and all this stuff. I was thinking over the weekend of, does McDaniel pull the McVay move of getting rid of the quarterback that he was brought in to fix to bring in his veteran quarterback that he actually wants?
Who's the guy though?
Is it Fields?
From your lips, man.
Come on.
I mean, Dan, what do you I don't.
That's an upgraded quarterback.
I don't.
We can talk. We can have the conversation about what Tua's worth is. We can have that conversation. We will have the entire offseason to have that conversation. You do understand why I would object just slightly to the idea that the cold weather game where you have 1,000 injuries on defense is going to be, if they'd won that game, you wouldn't be saying any of that. They didn't win the game, granted, but if cold defense on the road, if they win the Tennessee game, I don't think anything looks like that. And so I would just say slow down, right? Because the Chicago Bears have never had a quarterback as good as the one they presently have. Jay Cutler's their best quarterback ever. They're hard to get no matter how easy the Packers make it look. And you don't just throw away led the league in passing yards. I'm not saying you can't do better, but it wasn't but 6 games ago that Chicago was like, yeah, get Fields out of here. We need May. We need Williams. We need to get rid of Stugotz has said that. Get rid of Fields. So now you're taking a Bears team that hasn't won shit with Fields, that hasn't won anything with him, and saying, let's have him so that we can have an argument not unlike the one we have about 2 or 3 or 4 years from now, because they didn't figure it out with him either.
But Justin Fields on the Dolphins with Hill, with Waddle, with that running game, do the Dolphins beat Kansas City? Do they? Do they beat Kansas City?
Yes. Look,
Fields makes plays with his legs, Dan. That's important in this day and age.
He also doesn't lead the league in passing yards, and DJ Moore is really good. I'm not saying he's Hill and Waddle, but I just saw L'Jarius Sneed hold Hill and Waddle in 2 games to 1 catch. One catch. It's Hill and Waddle. I'm watching Deron Bland in the Dallas game. He led the league in pick sixes. He's targeted 6 times. He allows 5 catches for 130 something yards and a touchdown. And L'Jarius Sneed in the cold. Now that may be Tua, but in the cold, they couldn't do anything against a Chiefs cornerback that Jamar Chase said, oh, they're not that good. It's not like they have Jalen Ramsey or not. I would just call. I understand why everyone's doing this. I totally get it. But he'd only be available to you. The Bears quarterback, Justin Fields, would only be available to you because the Bears haven't been any good. And the Bears have been terrible at quarterback evaluation for longer than the Dolphins have been terrible at quarterback evaluation.
And you could have made the same argument about Matthew Stafford when he was with the Lions, right? When Matthew Stafford was in Detroit, people were like, this is kind of an empty stats. He can throw it up to Calvin Johnson, but I think the other thing too with the Dolphins is that maybe the answer, and obviously we're going to spend an offseason looking for the answer with this Dolphins team. Maybe the answer is that everyone was hurt. And that could be a perfectly good explanation. You lost 3 pass rushers. You lost your center. Tua was nicked up by the end of the season. Tyreek Hill couldn't go 10 plays without standing up straight. Jalen Waddle was definitely not healthy. You lost Javon Holland going into that last game. They lost a ton of guys going into the playoffs. So maybe the answer is, if we're healthy next year, which is no guarantee, then maybe we'll be better in these big games.
But that's I'm with you on that. I think if we have a healthy roster, we have a better chance. But there's 2 key factors here. It's the lack of mobility and creating plays. I see Jordan Love, CJ Stroud. I could name almost every quarterback in these playoffs. When they get out of the pocket, I'm terrified. When Tua gets out of the pocket, I'm not. He's not.
You're right. Chris, you've been making this point for a while, right? Josh Allen beats you because he can beat you a number of different ways, and you don't have to pay your running back. The Dolphins have figured out through system. They don't have to pay their running back either, even though their quarterback can't run. The difference between what the Rams did and what presently faces the Dolphins is the Rams recognized immediately their mistake on Goff because they gave him too much money. He wasn't cheap. So the gift there, and we always forget this when we talk about trades, right? Like, we always forget this part. Goff was gone with the Rams, not because he wasn't a good quarterback and not because they scored only 3 points in a Super Bowl. He was gone because they realized he wasn't value. They paid him too much and had to get out from under the contract. If they were going to do that, better to do it with Stafford, who's a better quarterback. It really does depend what Tua is willing to take. It depends on how self-aware Tua is about, no, I'm not going to set the market. I like this coach. I am comfortable here. What do you guys need me to take? Is $100 million less what I have to take to keep getting this opportunity? Because I've already felt in my career what it is to play for a coach who doesn't believe in me. And that was pretty miserable for me. And last year was a whole lot of fun. I still led the league in passing. More concerning to me is you just wasted the healthy Tua year. You just wasted it.
We're not certain there's not going to be more, though, Dan. Like, he did do the most important thing that we were looking at headed into the season.
Learned how to fall. He learned how to fall, yeah.
I know, and they system designed protection around him, but we wasted a healthy Tua season when, if any of us had to bet, will he play all the games this season? Like, I don't think any of us would have been comfortable making that bet before the season.
I think Tua would be crazy to forego or give up $100 million.
That's the point that I was going to make. If you're
Tua, he's deserved it. He had a good season.
Totally.
They got injuries at the end and a bad weather game, and he didn't play that well. But he earned whatever it is he's going to sign.
He also just saw how he plays in cold weather, and he sees how all these mobile quarterbacks are around him. Like, I get it. Obviously, his agent is gonna no, we're not taking any discounts. Like, I get that part of it, but there is an aspect of Tua being like, okay, Josh Allen, he's better at this than I am.
Let me stop you guys here, okay? Because yes, of course, I'm not advocating for a hometown discount here. I'm not. I'm advocating for self-awareness and happiness. What's the value of having a coach who believes in you and builds a system around you and refurbishes you when the previous coach wrecked your confidence, made going to work unhappy, made the huddle a place where you didn't feel safe? I don't know what that's worth. I'm not advocating for him to take pay cuts. I'm asking if he wants to look in a mirror and agree with some of the things we're saying, because Jared Goff did become the highest paid quarterback in the sport. Like, that's how that happens. You keep escalating. I don't think there's going to be that kind of market for Tua, though. And I don't think the Dolphins are going to have to make him the highest paid quarterback in the sport. I do not.
I think, I don't know about highest paid quarterback, but pretty well up there. And I think, to Stugotz's point, not just about the statistical resume that the agent walks in with and says he led the league in passing. Look, this is worthy of being up there in terms of being paid, but also he's coming off a year in which he had 3 concussions. And so long-term financial security, the fact that he was able to have the season that allows him to get there now is massive.
All right, you're the agent. Go ahead. You're the agent. I'm the team. He's cement-footed. He can't move out of the pocket.
He led the league in passing.
Okay, well, this is a dual position now, and we need people to be mobile.
He led the league in passing.
Okay.
You guys you are having the understandable argument. I'm legitimately asking you the macro question of what price is your happiness worth if the difference is between 150 million and 250 million. I know everyone listening to this is like, yeah, I want the 250 million. But I'm telling you, Stugotz, and I don't need to tell you this because you know how hard the last couple of years for us have been. $50 million is a lot better than what it is that we were making at ESPN. But some of this shit has been hard, and happiness matters. And because we made the choice that we made, we're diligent about fighting for what matters to us. But happiness is something that you cannot buy, and you guys cannot convince me that he doesn't understand how miserable he was when Brian Flores was his coach, and there's no telling whether he can end up in another constipated system that doesn't know how to use him and gets him hurt. I really would love to have an honest conversation with him about how unhappy he was and how happy he was and how much he thinks he's responsible for that and how much he thinks the organization and the coach is responsible for that. Because if he's self-aware of that, I will tell you, the agent works for him. Right. And so what he says to the agent is, yes, get me the most money, but I want it from them. I don't want to be anywhere else. You can pretend I'm going somewhere else, but I want the money from them.
There is something to be said for playing in a place that you love. He loves it down here in Miami, playing with teammates that you love, having a coach build his entire offense around you so you can have success. There is absolutely things to be said for that, Dan, in a positive way. And maybe he will give them a little bit of a discount, but not $100 million. Those things are not worth he has one shot at this massive contract, and he should maximize the amount of money he's going to make. But there is something to be said for all those things you pointed out. But what if Belichick's the coach?
It's just a number I was throwing out there. I don't know. I do think it's actually interesting for us to discuss what the number should be, where it is that I would, if it's not $100 million, because I'm just throwing that out there. Obviously, that's the jarring thing to say. I don't know how they assign value in their building. They were playing for this year. They extended Chubb for this year. They got Jalen Ramsey for this year. They thought they were close, and they did it for this year because they have a quarterback at value. If you lose the quarterback at value, you lose some of the pieces that support the quarterback. That's why Kansas City is weaker. That's why Tyreek Hill is here instead of there. They paid their quarterback in Kansas City, and Tyreek Hill said, deuces, I'm out, and I'm out as fast as I run on the field because I want my money over there. You've got a very small window here, Stugotz. I don't know if it's years. You might be able to do something with years. If I were to, I'd want length. I'd want guaranteed money. I'd want things that protect me on the front end and give me the security, that give me the leverage over the organization. I'd give money in exchange for that. I'd give money back in exchange for give me some guarantees because this thing is dangerous and I'm 1/3 down away from not being able to do this anymore. So to me, all of this is super fascinating. And I do believe, I may be an idiot about this because I'm not out here advocating ever for athletes to take less money. But I do believe that Tua has some self-awareness of why. I mean, we all do, Stugotz, of why he was that good this year. If you'd asked Tua last year or 2 years ago, if you'd walked in at any time he was around Brian Flores, and there was just an icy mist around Brian Flores, the way that those windows were behind Taylor Swift, frozen, physically, you couldn't look into Brian Flores' office because he had a darkness shield over the glass. Tua was on the outside of that. If I had asked him then, hey, 2 years from now, you think you're going to lead the league in passing? You think that you're going to be the best quarterback in the league when you're filled with so much doubt and fear and don't seem to have the support of your organization? My guess is he's learned something from that. All I saw on Hard Knocks was that dude talking about how happy he is. All I see him quoted on is how happy he is. Now, obviously, success has something to do with that, but I don't know how much he thinks he's responsible for his success and he thinks others are responsible for his success. But he was playing a different style of football this year, Stugotz, a different style. They built everything around him. Without exception, everything that was about the organization was about engulfing him so he felt the comfort of the huddle.
All right, it's settled. So Tua's going to take $100 million less. Now we're going to take a quarterback late in the first round. We got to find our next. Who's the next Jordan Love?
Yeah, someone to push him. You have to
because
I'll tell you, the Packers,
about Michael
the
Penix?
Texans, the Niners, they're set up for the next 5 years.
Then it's two lefties. Then we got the same system going. Penix,
yeah, you're replacing lefty for lefty.
Maybe
by the way, the average annual, if you look at the top kind of 13 quarterbacks right now, you're starting at $40 million. In terms of average annual value. So you're going probably from, if we're talking about Tua, Kyler Murray's on 46, Deshaun Watson's on 46, Stafford's on 40, Daniel Jones is on 40. Obviously, the Giants have come to regret that.
That was a 2-year deal.
Right. But I mean, theoretically, it's a 4-year deal, and they say it's an average annual value of 40. Derek Carr is on 37. Dak is on 40. Russell Wilson's on 48.
He's not taking less than Derek Carr. He's going to be
not taking less than Russell Wilson. I mean,
right. So we're talking about 47, 48 million a season.
I could keep Tua at that Daniel Jones because that's over. He's not. You can't make the argument that Daniel Jones deserves that. I'll right there at that 40 million mark. I'll take that.
Well, but that is where
that's nice of you. He won't.
Yeah, that is exactly the name that is going to end all the arguments when you guys go back and forth on he's concrete-footed and he led the league in passing. As soon as anyone in the room hears, yeah, you're going to take less than Daniel Jones, he's going to drop his pants and shit on the desk. Can you guys tell me if you felt some of what I felt? Because I was legitimately surprised by this. I don't consider myself much of a hater. Taylor Swift swag surfing.
What's wrong with that? I don't like the internet going after her on that.
Viscerally bothered me, and it made me look at myself and not like myself. It wasn't even her that I was mad at. I'm like, she's having fun, she's joyous. Why does this bother me? But I couldn't control that it bothered me.
It wasn't just Taylor Swift though. It was like a suite of 15 white people swag surfing. I think that's what it was.
You want to do a Zoom square of 4 people?
Yeah.
Swag.
Oh God, I've never felt whiter in my life.
Oh, it is fun.
Never felt whiter in my God,
Jesus. It is fun though. It is right.
Yeah, no,
Dan, you don't find joy in others having joy.
It's like there's a significance of that song to the Chiefs. There was a clip that went viral of one of their players asking a staff member, "Hey, play Swag Surf. It really gets us going." And they did get going after that. It might have been like the turning point of their season. The stadium DJ playing Swag Surf, but yeah.
I don't care how white you are. When that song comes on, you gotta do this. Like it's
totally.
Like, even Kelsey's mom was getting into it.
What was Dan objecting to? That she's not really a Chiefs fan. Kind of Taylor come lately.
No, Dan's not alone. The internet did not like that.
No, but let's just slow down, okay? Because I don't like the internet as my ally. I want to explore this. I want to explore this with you guys because I have not explored it. Beyond just saying, "Oh, I'm disgusting. Why would I get in the way of anyone else's joy? What's the matter with me?" But I have no control over what it is I was feeling.
Do things ever happen to you where you don't explore them? You just, you know what, it happened and you just move on? Like, why? You're always exploring, Le Batard.
I could just do a bunch of drugs and not ever think, but that's probably not the way that I want to do it. You've got that lane closed down for me.
It's easy. But anyway, let's explore.
We can't have 2 of them. Like it's one of them, how Mike and Mike did it? One of them's a former athlete. The other one's a metrosexual. Like that's what we're doing. One of them thinks too much. The other one does copious amounts of drugs.
And doesn't care about anything.
Doesn't want to think about anything. And it shows in every comment that he makes.
Belichick, coach.
What do you do?
What do you do?
What do you do if he? What do you do if Don Yee calls you? That's been your move for 10 days.
Someone answer it.
And none of you are actually answering my question because the internet did react that way to that. But you can't tell me that Taylor Swift isn't liked. That's not something you can say to me.
I think we're on our way to Taylor Swift not being liked by football fans. I think caveman NFL fans that only are interested in the toughness of men tackling each other in negative 27 degree weather are the only people that are actually bothered by this. It's like this invasion of no, don't come into our thing. Our thing is man stuff. Don't bring your Taylor Swift into it. There's a territorialness here that is definitely at play. But I think it's delightful. From where we went to that first game, which was Chiefs Bears in September, it's like, oh wow, Taylor Swift is there. To now, she has a bespoke Travis Kelce jacket that Kyle Juszczyk's wife made for her. She is fully into this. She is not renting NFL fandom, and the NFL's not renting Taylor Swift fandom. This is I'm really into this, and I really like this, and I'm going to go into a freaking stadium that's negative 27 degrees. She didn't have to be there. It's negative 27 degrees. She wanted to be there. It's cool.
You are so right, though. Every time, if you're in a group of 10 people, when they show her, just like gutturally.
Yeah.
You just hear someone be like, "Oh, come on, why we got to show her?"
Oh, it's enough of Taylor Swift. Blah, blah, blah. Taylor Swift ruined the Chiefs season. Blah, 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 blah.
I look over there. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why does that bother you so much?
It shouldn't. It shouldn't bother you at all.
Well, hold on a second. I understand that. Let's
explore.
I didn't like myself very much when it did bother me. I sound like Tony Dungy, who said this is why NFL fans are disenchanted. And I'm looking at him like, what fans of the NFL are disenchanted that you're talking to?
There's no disenchantment anywhere as far as anyone can see.
Classic Dungy.
And I didn't like my ally on that one, where he's like, get Taylor Swift out of my games because I want just games. It was like hearing Stan Van Gundy complain about T-shirt cannons when he's trying to coach the Orlando Magic.
Or Steve Kerr complaining about the music in the Suns arena.
Yeah, but it's like Stan Van Gundy's like, no, I want everyone in the stands to just be obsessed with Rashard Lewis off the pick and roll. That's all I care about. I don't want T-shirt cannons. I don't want DJs. What am I doing there? Like, because it didn't happen to any of you.
No.
You feel me? Look, I come back. Y'all start talking about swag surf. I got to pull back up.
Right?
Look, Taylor Swift, salute to Taylor Swift and all the Caucasian mountains, everybody who did that at the swag surf. It is allowed. I speak for the black community. We don't get mad. That's the best form of flattery, imitation. Come on, don't get that hate out your heart, brother Daniel. You feel me?
You are absolutely right, Juju. I'd like to get the hate out of my heart. I wish I were as positive as you are, and you have had all of the best comments in the 2 hours that we have been doing this today. But what I'm telling you is I didn't invite that hate into my heart. I don't want it to be in my heart. I tried to push it away from my heart, and the only choice I've made here that's the foul one, and this is the choice I had, is do I admit it or do I not? I've now offered it to the internet. I have offered it to the Swifties, and what I'm asking you guys when I ask you to explore it is, I can't control my feelings here. It bothered me, and I don't know why.
What's your best theory?
It's not that the Dolphins were losing. It's not that. It's not that she got here 5 minutes ago.
Could it be Patrick Mahomes' wife, like seemingly to be like right next to her? Like she seems super eager to be next to Taylor Swift. So it might be like her.
She is definitely very eager to be next to her without question.
It gives you like kind of like, oh, she's just trying to be around. Like that part makes you a little, but I don't know. I still vibe with it.
I think it's the Macarena 20,000 times. Yes. If y'all got mad at me for doing the Macarena, I'll be mad. So let's let her do the swag, sir.
Honestly, for me, it's the row of people above and below Taylor Swift that piss me off. All the hangers-on. If there are people to be mad at, it's them, not Taylor herself.
Would the people behind Taylor Swift be doing it if she wasn't, but like Britney was? Like they're only all doing it because Taylor. Now I'm kind of with Dan on this. Now I'm coming over to Dan's side.
No, we got to back off of this because we got to side with Juju, and also because Morgan from Australia and Mike Ryan have now teamed up in the chat. Good to see that Mike Ryan had time for the chat, but not anything else we were doing today. And they've teamed up and come up with the real explanation, which is awfully simple, and I'm surprised that I missed it. I just hate women.
Ah, damn.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. Come on, Mike.
Yeah, do better.
That's what Mike has contributed to our show today. That's not any Cam Ward information. He was texting me all weekend about all sorts of secret things going on in the shadows there.
But you do love an icy mustache. I mean,
oh, do I? And I loved your conversation earlier on whether that was snot or something else, because it's the perfect mustache for the ice. I want to know what that was congealing in the mustache of Andy Reid.
Right, snot.
You know what I was concerned with? I was concerned with the defrosting of the mustache. What happens when he goes back into a heated room and the frozen mustache is no longer frozen?
Cheese whiz melts onto a plate. And all sorts of discarded debris just sort of melts.
Two-time champion, that guy.
It's a pool of orange and snot and victory and championships.
At no point did he like think to do this move of like I'm just saying you gotta clean your like
what's in there. He knows what's
Get
in
me a
there.
towel. Get me a towel.
But like everyone likes their own brand. Everyone can kind of do the cleaning of their upper lip with like.
I don't know.
Like yeah, just one of those is all you needed, Andy.
There was a guy.
You never thought to do like one of
there's one of those bad boys.
Sleeve on the nose.
He would have started bleeding.
That's right. They're icicles.
Icicles breaking off.
Yeah. My father, when we were younger, there was a man in the neighborhood who had a similar mustache, and my father liked to make fun of his mustache by saying, and I don't want to say this is true of Andy Reid, but it just made me think of it. Old Norm over there, Norm is he's been looking for love in all the wrong places. That's what he said. What are you shaking your head about, Juju? It's my father. Take it up with him. Everybody loved him. It's not my commentary. I'm just betraying my father on it. And Norm. Norm Shear. He lived like 7 houses down.
Somebody in the comments section just said, did Chris Cody just say that everyone enjoys eating their own mucus?
No, it's first of all, usually it's like water. It's not.
It's kind of what you said.
What situation is someone have their beard filled with mucus? Like you guys think those were all boogers?
Yes.
It was just.
In what situation does somebody have a frozen beard? This is not normal.
In the cold.
Well, what was it? What we are agreeing that it came from the nose, that the liquid that then leaked down and became icicles hanging off of a roof.
There are two options, right? Like it's either his boogers or it's something that he drank and it just kind of stuck to the mustache.
Who would drink a squeezed water bottle in negative 27 degrees? I saw a viral video of someone opened a cooler at Arrowhead Stadium, pulled out a bottle of water, and the bottle froze within 5 seconds. So there was no water coming out of bottles in those circumstances.
So you have the realistic possibility. Like what you actually think happened is in the middle of the game he went.
Nah, this is what happened.
Your nose drips sometimes when it's cold.
The whole game, he got that cardboard in front of his hands, the laminated sheet with plays on it. So he's covering his mouth the whole time, and that heat is going on. Salute the damn glasses. This be happening to glasses like that. That heat was just freezing.
Right. Lip sweat we have then. There's frozen sweat.
Stugotz said there were only 2 choices, and Juju chose a different one that wasn't the 2 and is the more correct one, which is it is probably his breath steaming up in front of the laminated play sheet that for years we have said looks like a restaurant menu. And it did. It froze his mustache. That's exactly what happened. That was not mucus. That was not snot coming out of his nose.
Just one of these rockets. Just one of these, like what he said. That's all it would have taken.
Mike, why don't you come in here on the Zoom and talk Radko Gudas? Go ahead. Come on in here and just come on in here and talk Cam Ward. You're lurking in the shadow of
we
the
all
chat.
leave and let Mike just do like 10 minutes straight on Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Yes, what we should do is, we should leave. Yes, we should leave. Let's bring Mike on and slowly leave and just let him talk since he talk Panthers hockey. Go ahead, Mike. Look here, we got 5,000 people for you here. Just come on here and give your information and tell us all of the important things that we need to know that need to be discussing that isn't the mustache of Andy Reid, which we did not spend nearly enough time. Not nearly enough time.
We'll wait.
We'll wait. We will just sit here and wait.
He's watching his daughter.
That's too bad. Watching her so well that he can't stay out of the chat with all the commentary that I'm hating women because he's too busy loving them. Because I had a visceral reaction.
I'm watching my kid too. Graceland? Shit.
She's outside driving the car.
Actually, I think I do need to go. Wait. Graceland! All right, we're good.
All right. We weren't supposed to be working today, so we will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for working and really kind of blaspheming against Martin Luther King and his memory in general by not taking the day off in his memory. Not you, Juju.
Thank you, brother.
It was the rest of us who blasphemed. You were respectful. Mike, you're welcome to join here. We will leave the Zoom open. If anyone wants to linger, we will leave it all open for you, Mike. You can join from wherever it is you are since you're so busy distracting me in the chat. And thank you, Whittingham, for making the time. Thank you guys for working today. I know we weren't scheduled to, but we wanted to do that for the fan base. So thank you, everybody.